I'm Eddie Muller, welcoming you once again to Noir Alley. Today's film is another noir drama featuring the crime of uxoricide, fancy psychologist talk for a husband bumping off his wife. Or at least that's what appears to happen in Shadow on the Wall, released by MGM in 1950. Since the husband in question is played by Zachary Scott, who always seemed to be up to no good where women were concerned, the cops in our story can be excused for assuming he's guilty and railroading him into the hot seat. The only witness to the murder is his daughter, who's so traumatized by the killing of her stepmother, she blocks it from her mind. The child psychologist becomes obsessed with unlocking the young girl's repressed memory, much to the chagrin of the actual killer, who decides to silence the little witness permanently. The film was obviously made in an attempt to coattail on the success of The Window, adapted from a short story by the master of literary suspense, Cornell Woolrich, and released by RKO in 1949. That nail-biter, about a little boy who can't convince anyone he's seen a murder, was a sleeper hit at the box office and helped boost RKO's financial fortunes, at least temporarily. MGM took note and rushed this film into production. 8-year-old Gigi Perot, who by 1949 already had 20 film credits under her tiny belt, gives a terrific performance as the traumatized girl, Susan Starling. Now, there are several wrinkles in the script that keep it from being a carbon copy of The Window, but the essential hook is the same. We're on the edge of our seat as the culprit relentlessly tries to kill the only person, an innocent child, who could expose them as the killer. But we can't accuse co-writers Lawrence Bachman and Hannah Leese of knocking off The Window. That's because they wrote the original story, called Death in the Doll's House, in 1943. If anything, Bachman and Leese were ahead of the curve. Stories about repressed memory and the psychiatric gambits used to dissolve these blockages weren't a fixture of film noir, yet. The mid-century craze for psychoanalysis, which was especially popular in Hollywood, would soon make repressed memory a popular plot device in films such as Spellbound, High Wall, Shock, Somewhere in the Night, The Crooked Way, Whirlpool, and many others. Now, a fair amount of Shadow on the Wall takes place in a hospital, where Dr. Caroline Canford, played by future First Lady Nancy Reagan,
all right, honey,
tries to pry open the memory of Susan Starling. Now, this was turf that writer Lawrence Bachman knew well, since his main credits prior to writing Death in the Doll's House were for MGM's medical dramas, featuring Doctors Kildare and Gillespie, played respectively by Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. This is the one and only Hollywood feature directed by Englishman Pat Jackson, who was a highly regarded documentarian in his native country. Featuring perhaps the best work in the long career of cinematographer Ray June, and a truly exceptional performance from young Gigi Perot, here's another engrossing example of kid noir, 1950's Shadow on the Wall.